Oh, Mädels, ich kann gar nicht sagen, was gerade für mich für eine krasse Sache passiert ist. Ich bin hier gerade in Kuala Lumpur und ich habe gerade mein allergrößtes Idol getroffen und ich konnte meinem allergrößten Idol alle Fragen stellen, die ich jemals stellen wollte. Und das ist für mich ein ganz besonderer Moment, weil Vishen Lakiani, der Gründer von Mind Valley, für mich seit vielen Jahren eine riesengroße Inspiration ist und das, was er mit seiner Arbeit, mit seiner Firma erreicht hat, was er aufbaut und was er auch zukünftig aufbauen möchte, ist so viel größer als das, was die meisten Firmen denken, was die meisten Unternehmer, die meisten Geschäftsführer denken. Er versprüht dabei so eine riesengroße Liebe für die Welt, für die Menschheit und versucht einfach die Menschheit nach vorne zu bringen, dass es für mich eine riesengroße Ehre ist, eine riesengroße Inspiration, mit ihm sprechen zu können, ja, sein Office mir auch anschauen zu können und das ist für mich ganz verrückt, vor allem, weil wir eigentlich nur eine kurze Office-Tour angefragt hatten und das Interview so als Bonus quasi uns abgeluchst haben, aber tatsächlich hat er zugestimmt, beziehungsweise eine seiner Assistentinnen hat zugestimmt, mir ein Interview zu geben und ich bin super heftig dankbar dafür. Also, checkt auf jeden Fall das Interview aus. Ich bin gespannt, was ihr davon haltet. Lasst mich gerne wissen, wer eure größten Idole sind. Falls ihr noch weitere Fragen zu diesem Interview habt, an mich oder an Vishen, schreibt es gerne in die Kommentare zu diesem YouTube-Video. Das Interview wird auf Englisch sein, logischerweise, aber wir haben Untertitel gemacht. Also, ich freue mich wahnsinnig darüber, was ihr dazu sagt und bin jetzt noch ganz aufgeregt von dem Interview eben. Also, vielen lieben Dank. So Vishen, what models about relationships and love would have loved to have known in the beginning of your marriage that you know now?
You had to ask me that question, right?
Yes.
You know, I got divorced on Saturday.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's not a bad thing. But your reaction, oh my goodness, is representative of the bad model that people have about marriage.
Yeah.
So, in society, we train ourselves to believe that marriage is forever. We put a ring on someone and we own them. And they somehow, in a way, own us.
Yeah.
And it's till death does us apart.
Yeah.
So, my wife and I have been married for 15 years. We've been dating for 19 years. We've been together for 19 years, 2 kids. And after 19 years, we woke up one day and we're like, we should just end this. And we should stay business partners because we built an incredible company together. We have 2 incredible children. We've started so many amazing projects. But let's celebrate the end of our marriage. And the model we use is called conscious uncoupling. It's by Catherine Woodward Thomas. She wrote a beautiful book on it. Gwyneth Paltrow popularized it when she separated from her husband. And so Christina and I did a conscious uncoupling. And we ended our marriage with a big, beautiful party with 50 of our friends, and our children was involved, and we took off our rings, and my son took the ring and he put it in a beautiful velvet bag, and it's going to be my most prized possession. And then after we ended the marriage, we actually planned 2 holidays together.
Nice.
So we're going to Japan together as co-parents with 2 kids, and we're going on a separate holiday together in the Caribbean, but we're no longer married, we're just friends. Now, I wish I'd known this. I wish I'd known that marriage isn't forever, that relationships should be moment to moment, that you can be crazy about someone, you can be with someone, but it's the societal pressure, it's the society rule that says you have to be forever. Because if we go back even 50 years ago, women did not have the same rights as they do today. So the woman and the man needed to be together. But today, women and men are more or less equal in the Western world. And women can stand on their own, and men can stand on their own. And so we no longer need to be so codependent on each other.
True.
You can come together and you can have the most loving relationship, and at a certain point you can decide that you don't want to be wedded to each other. You don't want to be lovers, you want to be friends, and you can do it gracefully with compassion. And so I loved my wife as much as I did the first day I met her. But the permutation of that love is what is different. Today I love her as the person who believed in me when I was broke.
Yeah.
I love her as the mother of my children. I love her as my business partner and my friend, and she feels the same for me. But we're not married. And so people fall into this trap of seeing marriage as one particular type of style, but that style is only about relatively historical. And in today's age we need newer models for marriage. Because if we don't fully understand what this is about, in America, 40% of married couples divorce, and it is one of the most stressful situations for people. $50 billion a year get paid to divorce attorneys, right? But when you understand that there are elegant ways to do it, where you're not paying all of that money to lawyers, and you can end in a healthy way, you're doing the best thing for each other and for your children. So anyway, that is what I wish I'd learned.
Amazing. So, what systems and models do you use to improve your financial and entrepreneurial skills?
The reason I laugh is because there are so many.
Yeah.
Finance and entrepreneurship are as complex as love. There is no one model you use for love.
Yeah.
Likewise, there's no one model you use for entrepreneurship or finance. But there are a couple of things which I found to be very powerful models. So when we say model, I'm assuming you're using my terminology of a model for reality, which means a belief system,
Absolutely.
right? An installed belief system. Now, my model for reality for entrepreneurship is basically this, that the purpose of entrepreneurship is one thing. Can you guess what that one thing is?
Contribute to the world. No. Help people as a lot as possible.
No. Your entrepreneurship is nothing more than a vehicle for your personal growth.
Okay.
Your personal growth comes first. So if your business fails, it doesn't matter. Did you grow? If your business succeeds, it doesn't matter. Did you grow? The whole point of entrepreneurship is that it is an amazing school. I believe that the best thing we can do in our life is to be dedicated to our rate of learning, to make ourselves learners so that we are constantly growing. Because life is going to hit you with curveballs. Life is going to drag you down. And entrepreneurship is one of those incredible schools. It's a gym for life. You learn to lead people. You learn to deal with money. You learn to deal with failure. You learn to deal with wild success and not get addicted to it. And so entrepreneurship is the best form of education. But people think it's about the money. No, who gives a touch about money anymore? Learning and your evolution as a human being is what this is all about. So to me, Mind Valley is my school. Yes, I've created a school for millions of people, but Mind Valley is my school where Vishen gets to discover himself, where Vishen gets to fail, where Vishen gets to grow. And that's why I'm an entrepreneur.
Crazy. That was an amazing answer. Thank you.
So anyway, that's my favorite model of entrepreneurship.
Thank you. What were the most influential models or strategies for you in growing Mind Valley, beside the one that you just told us about your own school?
So the first one was of course, seeing entrepreneurship as a game of life, right?
Yeah.
It's the dojo of your personal growth. But now when you have a company, what I think is one of the most powerful ideas is the concept of positive intelligence, or PQ. So PQ stands for positive intelligence. It's the ratio of your days where you have positive feelings minus negative feelings.
Yeah.
So if 90% of your day you're generally excited and inspired and positive and full of joy, your PQ is going to be high.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is when most people become entrepreneurs, you're facing stress, you're facing anxiety, there are going to be bumps on the road, right? You got to train yourself to have grit, to be able to survive the bumps, because ultimately PQ is what determines your success. So there's been so much research on positive intelligence. And positive intelligence is a catch-all phrase, right? But for example, in Sean Akers' book, The Happiness Advantage, he says that salespeople who are optimistic outperform pessimistic salespeople by 55%. Doctors who are primed to be happy are 19% better at diagnoses. Teams, right, the lollipop study, teams who have high positive intelligence with each other, according to one study, it is the #1 determinant of a high-performing team. So the trick is, if you're starting a company, right, your idea is important, your funding is important, but your culture, and that culture that leads to happiness, is the most important. And so at Mind Valley, everything we do is about PQ. Look at the space.
Yeah, I can see that, absolutely.
This is designed not to save cost. It's designed to keep people inspired. Look at the people who walk through this office.
Yeah, it's
you notice
an amazing
the smiles.
vibe.
You notice the vibe. The vibe is what makes us so successful. So the #1 thing you want to do if you're starting a business is not the project. It is not the idea. It's not the funding.
But it's the PQ.
It's the vibe. It's the PQ. And this way, you're going to be happier as an entrepreneur, and you're going to be able to have your PQ go up, which is thus going to boost your performance. Do you know even the lighting over here is designed, scientifically engineered for vibe?
No.
The colored glass, the colors of the cushion, everything here is engineered for vibe.
Nice. I can totally feel that. What in the last 12 months was the most influential new idea or experience you had?
So there's been many, because I'm a constant learner. As I mentioned earlier, the whole reason I'm an entrepreneur is just because I learned from being in entrepreneurship. My rate of learning is the number one thing. So as a result, I'm learning so much. So there've been so many ideas. But I'll rattle off a list. One was the concept of unconscious coupling, that I could comfortably, consciously, with the blessing of my son and daughter and my wife and my marriage, in the most beautiful, holistic way, and not create so much stress and drama. That was a real important insight for me. Another one was the idea of, I've been studying a lot on and understanding where the human species is going. And I'm trying to develop new roadmaps and models for where we can take humanity beyond cultures, religions, nationalities, and other artificial walls that divide us, to create a new type of human being that sees themselves as belonging to planet Earth first, and their national identity second. I think this new concept of a human being is what we need in a world where nationalism or Trumpism, Brexitism is coming up, and where global warming is posing an existential threat. So I'm working on new models to mass upgrade human society, from Fortune 500 companies to global schools to office spaces, so that we can get to higher levels of human understanding of who we are, how we're connected, because I believe that we need to make a massive up-leveling in our consciousness over the next 10 to 20 years to avert what could be an existential crisis.
I think you're doing a pretty great job with that.
Right now I'm only at 5 million people. Got to get to 1 billion people for this to have a massive impact.
Yeah. How long do you think will it will
20
take?
years.
20 years?
Yeah, by 20 years. And we're going to accelerate it by getting Mind Valley ideas, new powerful conscious ideas into every major company in the world. The goal is every company in the Fortune 500, 100 different schooling systems, and 1,000 politicians. So we'll be training 1,000 unity politicians to win elections. You guys are from Germany, right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
We need that.
Well, Germany actually is better off than Britain.
It is.
Where the population made a stupid decision and voted for Brexit.
True.
Why? Based on lies by nationalist politicians.
Yes.
I want to help ensure that nationalism of the Brexit kind, of the Trump kind, is firmly discarded in the garbage bin of human history. And it never rears its ugly head again. So to do that, we got to train and transform unity politicians. Politicians who stand up for the environment, who are patriotic for their countries, yes, but ultimately see themselves as having a responsibility to the entire planet. Because you know what, if you want to solve global warming or clean up the oceans, you can't just think about your country. So, there's a saying I like to say, leaders who lack vision have to lead through division. My job is to help push aside the leaders who use division, such as Trump, and help encourage and grow leaders who have vision. Vision for healing and bringing together the human race.
Nice. We just founded an NGO for diversity and respect, which I'm on the board with.
That's fantastic.
That we exactly trying to establish that. We just opened up the center in Essen to bring out, to create a space where different people can come together and work and fight for that idea of diversity and respect.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. And one of the most remarkable things about Germany, right? Germany went through a massive crisis in 1945. And I think what has emerged from that is, because when I visited Berlin, I was awestruck by how amazing German people are. They were so open-minded, they were so embracing diversity, they were such a beautiful, amazing, peace-loving people. I was like, why can't America be like that?
Yeah, I don't know, but we're working towards it.
Anyway, you guys are doing an amazing job, so go Germany.
What is one truth that you know that very few people agree with you on?
one truth that I know that very few people agree with me on. So I'm always discovering what is true.
Yeah.
Funny thing about truth is it's constantly evolving and changing, but there is one truth. And that truth is the world, or what I call the culturescape, feeds you one magnificent lie. And that lie is that your identity belongs to a particular religion, or a country, or a nationality, or an ethnicity. And the truth is, we live multiple lifetimes. And all of these things are artificial. That we are part of a giant new super species called the human colossus. That idea, that term was coined by the blogger Tim Urban. You see, today in the world, human beings themselves have not evolved much. If you take a baby today and you put that baby in society 20,000 years ago, that baby might grow up to be a hunter-gatherer. You could take a baby from the hunter-gatherer times 20,000 years ago, bring them to the world today, that baby could grow up to be an engineer. We haven't evolved much in 20,000 years, but today the Earth is surrounded by satellites. We have set foot on the moon. We are racing to colonize Mars. So what has changed? What has changed is our species' ability to collaborate and connect, right? Through Skype, through Facebook, through satellites circulating the Earth, through YouTube. And so, as a result, according to Tim Urban, we have formed a new super species called the human colossus. It's a super species made up of 8 billion cells. Think of it as a giant humanoid of 8 billion cells. And you're a cell, and I'm a cell, and everyone watching is a cell. And the thing is, these cells can be hijacked. And a cell can be healthy or it can be cancerous. If you buy into the ideas of nationalism, you're being trained to be a cancer cell. You're being trained to decide that Mexicans, well, we don't want to welcome them, we want to build a border wall. You can work for a junk food company and dedicate your life to trying to get kids to consume high fructose corn syrup. So society's society's outdated models, whether it's corporate America in some way, like I'm not talking about corporate America, I don't want to slam all corporations, but like mindless consumerism, mindless capitalism, nationalism, trick us into becoming cancer cells. But the truth is, we're all one, we're all connected. And the purpose of our existence shouldn't be some bullshit company's shareholder value or some dumb, divisive politician's bullshit wall. It should be, how can we help each other across our nations, across our boundaries? So that, I believe, is the way I see the world, that I would like to expand to more people, to get people to move up from ethnocentrism to world-centrism and cosmocentrism.
Crazy.
And one of the ways we want to do that is in the next 20 years to launch an official Earth flag as a new form of human identity. The only flag I will ever wear on my backpack is a flag for planet Earth. And I want 1 billion people committing to that. Their country flag comes second.
Nice.
So that I guess is a great way of stating the truth. You are not American. You are not German. Don't believe that lie. You can love America. You can love Germany. You are a citizen of planet Earth. The only flag you should place as your number one flag is the Earth flag. And imagine what happened if every nation did that. Imagine the power a man like Trump would lose if every person did that. Imagine how irrelevant Brexit would be if every person did that. Imagine if we would even need a defense budget, which if we dismantled across the earth or even brought down by 50%, we could cure poverty. We could end poverty. But we don't, because we are kind of fucking stupid. And we have bought into this lie of national identity.
Crazy. So much high value input. Intense. So what would be 3 skills that you would like to pass on to your children so they can be successful and happy in the future?
Only one, actually. So there are many different skills, but the number one thing that you want to teach your child is to protect their belief systems. Most parents are unaware of how a child's mind is such a meaning-making machine, that the child is constantly making meaning of what's happening in the world. And if you can teach your child to have healthy beliefs, the child grows up to become a lot more confident, a lot more secure, and the ultimate belief is, hey, look, you're okay. You get a bad grade, doesn't matter. You're okay. Who says that an A defines who you are, right? And so many human beings grow up trying to fill holes because as children, we develop beliefs that were unhealthy. unhealthy beliefs about love, unhealthy beliefs about money, unhealthy beliefs about who we are. So as a parent, the most important thing is to always preserve your child's belief system. So here's an example. I was driving my car and my son asked me a question on science, right? Before I could answer the question, my CFO called. So of course, if you're an entrepreneur, your CFO calls, you know something has gone wrong. You got to take the call. So I took the call, but immediately I realized, oh my God, I got to. So I paused the call. I said, please wait for a second. And I told my son, I love your question, and I love it when you ask me questions. You're the most important thing in the world, and I'm going to get right back to you. But you know, my CFO just called, and it means something is broken, and I need to just fix that for 5 minutes, and then we're going to continue this question. That's, if I hadn't done that, what do you think would enter in my son's head? Because kids are meaning-making machines. He might say, you know, Dad doesn't answer my question because work is more important to him.
Yeah.
Or I'm not important. Or my question is important. And when those beliefs, the child doesn't even remember he's enforcing that, but it stays with you as you become an adult. It turns into parents place work ahead of me, or I am not important, or my ideas don't matter, or my questions don't matter. And that leads to all sorts of dysfunctions as an adult. So you want to protect your child's belief system. So as parents, we sometimes get that wrong. You know, we try to protect our child's grades in schools. We try to make sure our kids are doing our homework. How the hell does that even matter? I was a C student. So, but belief systems, that's what truly matters.
Until which point should an entrepreneur invest in one employee when it is a friend, and until what point should you get rid of that employee if he's not able to fit to your business standards?
Immediately, right? Like one of the most important things is hire slow, fire fast. So a simple model I look at is we talked about this earlier, vibe and PQ. If there's someone who is breaking the vibe and the PQ of a team, you got to get them to go. So as I mentioned, in a study on positive psychology, they found that the single biggest determinant of a team's success is its positive intelligence, how the team members feel with each other. So if you have one person who might be a genius but is an asshole and he's dragging the energy of the team down, you got to let him go, even if he's your friend. So I only work with people who elevate my state, which is why a lot of the people I work with are my closest friends in the world. And when we see each other, we hug each other, we celebrate birthdays together. Like I celebrated my birthday, everyone who was there was someone I worked with. And it's just how we operate. There's so much love and connection here because of that focus on PQ.
Yeah, so thanks for having us. It was a real pleasure. It was an honor for me to meet you, to see your office, to see what you have been up to the last years and what you build up and what your biggest vision for the future is. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It was
I appreciate it.
Really a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.